As you probably know, Russia is among the very few countries that develop stealth aircraft. Besides that, only the US and China share this exclusive position with Russia. However, not all competitors in stealth technology are of the same caliber. Many consider Russia's stealth technology to be lagging behind its rivals. With the only stealth fighter currently in Moscow's inventory being the Sukhoi Su-57. It's even considered the least stealthy fifth-generation aircraft currently available. Of course, stealth is not a single technology, but rather a series of overlapping technologies, manufacturing methods, and combat tactics, all combined to limit or prevent the detection of an aircraft flying through disputed airspace. In the 21st century, stealth aircraft must strive to minimize radar detection in all directions, mask the immense heat generated by their engines to avoid detection, and lock onto targets using infrared, while also possessing jamming or electronic warfare capabilities, to avoid falling behind in an era where air power is becoming the norm of warfare. Russia has been rapidly developing its first stealth strategic bomber. This is not a variant of existing Soviet-era models, but was developed entirely from scratch to compete with similar American aircraft, and Moscow named this particular aircraft PAK. When you look at Russia's new generation strategic bomber, you'll feel a sense of familiarity, as if you've seen it somewhere before. Yes, if you realize that, then you're right. The PAK uses a flying wing design, similar to the American B-2 Spirit and B-21 Raider stealth bombers, with few protruding fins and no angle to reflect radar signals back to enemy receivers. The B-2 bomber is considered one of the best stealth aircraft currently available, capable of evading low-frequency radars. By following this path, PAK has given itself a solid start. However, Russia's stealth technology is currently limited, especially in mass production of aircraft. Even a very small error in a stealth fighter or bomber could lead to serious combat failures. The seams between the fuselage panels can also reflect off enemy radar, and even carelessness when opening the weapons bay doors can create reflected signals that reveal the aircraft's location. There was a similar case when the world's first stealth fighter jet, the American F-1, was shot down by a supposedly outdated Soviet surface-to-air missile. Russia may not yet have fully discovered the shortcomings of its stealth technology, while the US prioritizes stealth capabilities in the development of these vehicles. Russia considers stealth as just one of several important factors, and deems it less important than speed or maneuverability. It's also possible that PAK may not be completely invisible. This can be inferred from the fact that this aircraft will use long-range attack weapons to carry out its mission and will never leave the protective bubble of Russian air defense systems. Professor Vadim Kozulin of the Academy of Military Sciences wrote in the Russian newspaper Russia Beyond. Currently, the Russian Air Force has received the Kh-55 and Kh-101 long-range missiles with a maximum range of up to 5,000 km, which is why Moscow no longer necessarily needs long-range bombers. Now, strategic bombers can carry out their basic missions without leaving Russian borders and are safely protected by air defense systems. If that's the case, what equipment does the Kremlin intend to provide for this brand new, heavily protected bomber? According to Russian information, the PAK will be capable of carrying a variety of nuclear and conventional weapons, as well as operating in conjunction with UAVs. And all these weapons will be housed inside. Among the items Available will be the latest Kinjal hypersonic missile that Russia is developing and perfecting. The Ka-47M2 Kinjal is an air-launched hypersonic ballistic missile with a claimed range of over 1,000 km and a maximum speed exceeding Mach 10 approximately 12. It can carry a nuclear or conventional warhead with a maximum nuclear yield of approximately 500 kilotons, more than 30 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima at the end of World War II. Because the missile possesses high speed and maneuverability in flight, the Russian military confidently claims that the Kinjal is capable of defeating any air defense system that Washington is currently using. Extremely reputable. Notably, defense officials have also warned that current air defense systems cannot intercept hypersonic weapons, highlighting the threat these missiles could pose to U.S. targets. In October 2021, Russia announced the development of another air-launched weapon capable of fitting into the PAK's weapons bay, the Ka-95 long-range hypersonic missile. It would even be equipped with bombs in order to carry out classic bombing attacks on enemy territory. The specific features of the aircraft have not yet been revealed. However, the PAK will certainly have 2 engines, while its range without refueling could reach 12,000 km, which is more than a quarter of the Earth's circumference. The PAK is expected to have a payload capacity of up to 30 tons. At the same time, it is almost certain that the new brainchild of the Tupolev Design Bureau will be a subsonic aircraft. Some argue that this represents a step backward for the Russian aircraft manufacturing industry, while others believe that supersonic aircraft also have limitations. Similarly, supersonic aircraft are only used in extreme situations, such as when you want to quickly pass through dangerous areas. Operating the engine in forced mode is associated with significantly excessive fuel consumption, which in some cases can lead to critical situations such as the aircraft being at risk of being unable to return. And as I mentioned above, the drawback of supersonic speed is the significantly increased heat dissipation. The infrared optics of enemy radar stations are capable of detecting aircraft that have switched to supersonic mode from a distance of several hundred kilometers. As a result, the enemy's interceptor will take off in just minutes and be ready to knock out your supersonic aircraft at any cost. The PAK project has been discussed since the late 1990s, and funding for the program began in 2000. The Russian Ministry of Defense has only approved the preliminary design, and mass production is not expected to begin until the end of 2027. They intend the PAK to be a rival to the B-2 Spirit, with production expected to begin in 2029. I am truly excited to imagine what this Russian strategic bomber could offer. Let's go back a bit to PAK's opponent. The B-2, developed by the US at the end of the Cold War, can drop weapons of mass destruction deep into the most heavily fortified enemy airspace, making it a formidable war machine. Inspired by birds, the B-2's unique aerodynamic shape allows it to penetrate deep into enemy territory without being detected by air defense systems. The wings on all of these aircraft possess remarkable flexibility. The Americans have succeeded in adding composite elements to the wing construction materials, most notably carbon fiber, to create a fighter jet with high mechanical strength. The B-2 Spirit is constructed of 80% composite materials, mostly carbon fiber. The inner frame, which connects to the body and houses the largest fuel tank, is made of titanium and aluminum. Composite materials not only make the B-2 Spirit lighter, but they are also excellent radar-absorbing materials. allowing this bomber to be stealthy against enemy radar. However, in 2016, the Pentagon proposed developing the next generation B-21 Raider aircraft to replace it. Regarding the level of danger posed by this aircraft, perhaps the American magazine Military Watch has already expressed it for me through their statement that the B-21 promises to be a true work of art, that it will not only become a next generation strategic bomber, but also the most dangerous bomber in the world. In a mixed combat formation, it will be in a central position, using its equipment to issue commands and designate targets for frontline fighter aircraft. Artificial intelligence, along with powerful computers, will allow the B-21 to process massive amounts of data and identify potential threats in advance. While Russia's PAK hadn't even left the prototype stage. By September 20, contractor Northrop Grumman had already produced 5 B-21 Raider prototypes at its Palmdale, California facility. The first aircraft are expected to enter service in 2025. And this has solidified the United States' leading position in the race to build a next-generation stealth bomber. Another rival of the PAK is China's H-20 stealth bomber. The Air Force of the world's most populous country announced the Xi'an H-20 stealth bomber project in 2016, and it could be ready for operation within 2-3 years. They began testing the H-20 aircraft from June 8, 2021, at Khotan Air Base in southern Xinjiang, approximately 250-400 km from disputed border areas with India. Beijing already possesses bombers capable of conducting airstrikes across East and South Asia, as well as the Western Pacific. The H-6K, H-6N, and H-6J bomber, distant descendants of the Soviet Tu-160s, are all capable of performing these missions from their bases. To achieve this, they need a variety of subsonic and hypersonic cruise missiles. To attack warships and ground targets, it is highly likely that they could also be equipped with air-launched ballistic missiles. It can be said that the Xi'an H-20 project has cost China a considerable amount of money, but it is seen as a strategic nuclear deterrent and a tool to project Beijing's global power, similar to how Russia and the United States use their bombers. But whatever the case, stealth strategic bombers are tasked with flying deep into enemy territory, where their targets are of high strategic or tactical importance, and capable of fundamentally destroying a hostile nation's defense capabilities. With that philosophy in mind, PAK is the greatest threat to the US in any Russian defense program. But people still have to wait and see how stealthy this bomber really is. And they even worry that it might only exist on design blueprints. Regardless, the arms race between the two military superpowers, Russia and the US, promises to be very intense. And this time it's in the field of stealth aircraft development. Thus, the exploration of the new PAK stealth bomber has come to an end. Will this new facemaker debut on time and deliver the spectacular performances that are being advertised? Please share your predictions below to discuss with everyone. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to join KTQS on our next exciting journeys. And now, Viet bids you farewell and hopes to see you again in future videos.